This video is going to show you how to add rules to your survey and some basic rules setup tips and tricks. In order to access the rules interface, you must have form creation permissions and also the permission to access rules. If you already have form creation permissions and you don't have access to rules, please open up a tracker and request it. If you don't have form creation permissions, please open up a tracker and request form creation training. If you don't already have rules set up on your survey, you are going to select your client and survey from the client and survey dropdown. You're going to go into client and form settings and then into survey settings, and you are going to come and enable rules. When you save your survey settings, you now have a link to RulezSetup, and this will give you access to the rules interface. Once you have your rules enabled on your survey, if you come back into an existing survey, you will be able to go into client and form settings, and you will see rules set up in the form setting dropdown without having to go to the survey settings. For the next part of this demo, we are going to be using the rules that we have set up in the demo in the other rules training video to illustrate some of the basics of how to get started writing rules. Rules is a programming language based on JavaScript that we taught a lot about Sassy. Rules knows about things like question IDs, sectional assignments, level assignments. It knows how to do math and add, subtract, multiply, and divide. It knows things about the shopper, such as whether or not they have a specific qualification or which question set that they're using. So when you first get started writing rules, the first thing that you want to do is state what you're trying to do in simple English. The rules interface supports this feature by allowing you to add in that simple English by using the / to comment out those simple English statement that describes what the rule is going to do, so it doesn't affect the way that the rules programming runs. This is very helpful when other people are accessing your survey and want to see what rules is controlling on the survey, or when you need to make updates to the rules. Some of the other features of this page are the ability to save your rules, check for errors, and create a test shop. Whenever you make changes to your rules, you should save your updates. Any changes will overwrite what is already saved, so if you are working on an existing set of rules, you should make sure to take a copy and save it to your computer. You should always use a plain text editor such as Notepad or TextPad when saving your rules. You should never use Microsoft Word to store your rules, as Word adds additional formatting to your file, and if you try to re-enter those rules into the rules interface, it will generate errors. So the next thing that you can do with the rules interface is to check for errors. The error checker will check to ensure that there are no syntax errors in your rule set. For example, all rules must begin with the statement IFQ, and there is no dot in front of the opening statement of IFQ. If you add a dot in front of the IFQ statement and check for errors, rules will tell you that all rules must begin with IFQ minus the dot. So this lets you know that you need to check and see where you have a dot in front of your IFQ statement, and you can remove it, and then your rule set will test as okay. The error checking will also check to make sure that all questions referenced in the rule set exist on the survey, because if a question referenced in the rule set is missing from the question list, the entire rule set will fail to run. The error checker does not generate an error for any other element, such as section or wave name, since those can be added after the initial rule setup. You can also generate a test shop via this interface to ensure that your rules are set up properly. Testing your rules is a very important part of setting up rules, and every time rules are added or updated, all scenarios should be tested thoroughly. If you add rules that are location, date, or scenario specific, you will want to go find your shop in the admin shop log and adjust the shop setup to ensure that the shop is assigned to the correct location, date range, or wave. Finally, we have a link to our rules documentation, which contains a great deal of information about how to set up and use rules, and also a number of example rules for reference.